Sri Guru Charitra, Chapter 41. Sayam Dev's Unflinching Devotion. This chapter describes Sayam Dev's coming to Gurunath and the test of faith he was put to by Gurunath. Gurunath relates the story of Twasta, who sets out with the determination to fulfill the impossible demands of his Guru and the latter's family members. This chapter is an allegorical description of self-realization. Sayam Dev is a sadhaka, the aspirant. The dark night with heavy downpour symbolizes the dark night of the soul. Fire represents knowledge and wisdom. As Sayam Dev returned to near the Sangam, he heard the chant of the Vedas, that is Anahatanada, the Omkara Dhvani, which is always reverberating in one's own heart as well as in the entire universe. There, he had a glimpse of the Sadguru in full splendor of the moonlight. Clouds of ignorance cleared off, the fire of knowledge was lit, and Sayam Dev had the clear vision of the Sadguru. That was Shakshatkara, the state of realization. Namdharak said to Siddhamuni that listening to Guru Charitra was like drinking nectar. He said his mind was getting rid of all doubts and dross and was being filled with new light. He said he felt so blessed indeed. He told Siddha Yogi that he felt very much interested to know the details about his ancestor Sayam Dev, who was also a devotee and close disciple of Gurunath and who used to earlier live at Vasar Brahmeshwar but later at Gangapur itself. Sayam Dev used to be very dear to Gurunath and he was happy that he was born in the line of such blessed devotees of the Lord. Then Siddha Muni narrated as under. Sayam Dev came to know that Gurunath was now residing at Gangapur. It was Gurunath that saved him from the claws of death from being killed by the Muslim chief 16 years ago. He was eager to have Gurunath's darshan again and spend the rest of his life in the service at his feet. He trekked to Gangapur. He fell prostrate at Gurunath's feet and prayed that he should not forsake him. He poured out his prayers to Gurunath. He said, "Your lotus feet is the confluence of the holy waters of all sacred rivers and all the holy places. All the nectar of the heavens is in your Kamandalu only. Your Charan Tirtha drives away death, and just a little sprinkling of it is enough to resurrect the dead. It is too presumptuous on my part to try to put into articulation your inexpressible and infinite glory." Tears of joy welling out from the depths of his heart were trickling down from his eyes, drenching the feet of Gurunath. Gurunath was pleased and clasping Sayam Dev closely told him that his grace would be ever on him and his family. He asked him to go to the Sangam and bathe there, which would wash away all his past sins. He asked him to come back to the mutt after the bath for food. After Sayam Dev had his food, Gurunath inquired of him with great solicitude of all the details of his family and their welfare. Sayam Dev told him that he would now come away permanently to live at Gangapur for serving the master. Sri Gurunath said that it was not easy for anyone to do service to him properly and satisfactorily. It would be too arduous for anyone, but Sayam Dev stayed on there, trying to serve the master. Gurunath wanted to test him. One day, Gurunath took Sayam Dev along with him to the Sangam. Gurunath sat under the Ashwatha tree and went on conversing with him till late after dusk. Then suddenly, stormy winds started blowing, accompanied by thunder and lightning. There was a very heavy downpour of rain. Sayam Dev was shivering, unable to bear the cold. Nevertheless, he was trying to put up a bold face. Sri Gurunath told him that he himself was also feeling the cold too much and therefore he, Sayam Dev, should go to Gangapur and bring some fire from there. He told him that he should not look sideways at all, either while going or while returning. Sayam Dev put his own shawl over Gurunath's shoulders to cover him and to keep his body warm, and then left in the direction of Gangapur. It was pitch dark then and nothing was visible except when there were flashes of lightning. With great struggle, Sayam Dev was able to reach Gangapur. He put some fire, burning coals, in a pot and started on his return journey towards the Sangam. Unable to find the way and forgetting Gurunath's instructions, he looked sideways. Oh, there were two huge 5-headed serpents, one each on either side, following him. He got very much frightened and almost lost his way. Struggling much and praying to Gurunath, he at last managed to reach the Sangam. Lo, what does he find there? There are thousands of lights shining brightly all around. There is the Omkara Nada resounding and the chant of Vedic mantras reverberating everywhere. Gurunath is seated under the Ashwatha tree shining with the splendor of thousands of moons and looking like Lord Shiva himself. It was a divine vision. Sayamdev, dazzled by the vision, fell prostrate at Gurunath's feet. Gurunath then ended the vision and lifted Sayamdev, smiled at him and comforted him. He told him that he was very much pleased with his devotion and added that it was he, Gurunath himself, who sent the two serpents along with him for his protection. He further said that he should never forget that Guru Bhakti is the supreme protection in one's life and its power is incomparable. Sayamdev requested Gurunath to tell him about the Guru Bhakti Mahima. Gurunath said he would narrate what Lord Shiva told Parvati about Guru Bhakti Mahima. In the line of Brahma, there was one boy born who was named Twasta. When the boy attained Upanayana age, the Upanayana ceremony was performed by the father and the boy was sent to the Gurukul. The boy was serving the Guru very dutifully. One day there was a big storm and the Guru's cottage collapsed and its roof was blown off. The Guru called Twasta and told him, "You must build me a good strong house. It should look beautiful and should have all comforts." The Guru's wife then came and told Twasta, "You should get me a good dress. It should not be woven of thread. It should look very beautiful and fit me well." Then the Guru's son came and told Twasta, "You should get me a good pair of shoes, just of the correct size for me. The shoes should be such that mud will never stick to them and they will never get soiled. And further, I should be able to walk with them even on water and they should be able to take me instantly to wherever I was just thinking of going." Then the Guru's daughter came and said, "You should get me ornaments for my ears and an ivory toy house made from the single tusk of an elephant. You should also get me utensils for cooking. They should be such that they will not turn black with soot when food is cooked in them." Twasta was at a loss to know as to how he would be able to procure all these and fulfill the demands, but he felt confident and certain that his Guru's grace alone will help him to fulfill all the demands of the Guru and his family. Twasta, praying to his Guru only, started walking towards a nearby forest. He sat down there praying to his Guru that he should help him to fulfill all the demands and to get through the ordeal. As he was praying thus, all of a sudden an Avadhut appeared before him. The boy was overjoyed at seeing him. The Avadhut inquired of him as to what was worrying him. The boy told him the impossible task set to him by his Guru and his Guru's family members, and that he was at a loss to know how he would be able to discharge them all satisfactorily. The Avadhut then said, "Dear child, do not despair about this. You will surely succeed. There is nothing impossible for those who win Lord Vishweshwara's grace. It is through Vishweshwara's grace only that Brahma could earn the capacity to create the worlds. It is through Vishweshwara's grace again that Vishnu could gain the capacity to sustain the creation and grant the prayers of his devotees. Therefore, for success in fulfilling the demands of your Guru, you go to Kashi. Serve Lord Vishweshwara there and earn his grace. He will certainly bless you. He will make you even Vishwakarma and will enable you to earn an eternal name and fame." The Avadhut continued, "Therefore, I advise you to visit Kashi. You should undertake there the Panchakrosa Yatra in and around Kashi, visiting all the holy shrines and the tirthas therein. The Panchakrosha Yatra will earn for one as much merit as one gets through the performance of an Ashwamedha Yajna. Even the 1,000-tongued Adisesha could not describe adequately the merit that accrues by pilgrimage to Kashi." Twasta said, "O Mahatma, where is Kashi? How far is it? I am a lad. How can I reach there?" Then the Avadhut said, "I will also come along with you to Kashi. Thereby I too will get the merit of Lord Vishweshwara's darshan." Saying thus, the Avadhut took the boy to the holy Kashi in a trice through the power of his siddhis. Twasta was overjoyed. He said, "O Mahatma, you are indeed Lord Vishweshwara. You have come to save me. Please let me know in detail what places are to be visited, what rites are to be done, and explain to me the whole Kashi Yatra Vidhana fully." Thus ends the 41st chapter of Sri Guru Charitra describing Kashi Khanda Yatra. Glory to the All-Merciful, the Omnipresent, and the ever-responsive Gurunath.